My poem is called The Dancing Serpent. Indolent darling, how I love to see the skin of your body so beautiful, shimmer like silk, upon heavy head of hair with its acrid scents, adventurous odorant sea with blue and brown waves. Like a vessel that awakens to the morning wind, my dreamy soul sets sail for a distant sky. Your eyes where nothing is revealed, of bitter and sweet, are two cold jewels, where are mingled iron and gold. To see you walking in cadence with fine abandon, one would say a snake which dances on the end of a staff. Under the weight of indolence, your childlike head sways gently to and fro like the head of a young elephant. Your body stretches and leans like a slender ship that rolls from side to side and dips its yards in the sea. Like a stream swollen by the thaw of rumbling glaciers, when the water of your mouth rises to the edge of your teeth, it seems I drink Bohemian wine, bitter and conquering, a liquid sky that stars my heart. So, first thing I want to analyze about this poem is talk about the rhyme scheme in the original French. So, the original rhyme scheme, the first and the third line for all of them, they use the same sound to repeat. Whereas the second and the fourth sound, they always rhyme together in each stanza, but the two sounds change. So the first and the third, the sound at the ending, the rhyme is constant throughout the poem, but it changes in the but it changes for the second and the fourth. And in the second and the first and the third line, the syllables seem to be constant, where it's 8 syllables long, the first and the third line, whereas the second and the fourth line seem to be 6 syllables long. The syllables seem constant, and the length also, that pattern also seems to continue throughout the poem. And it really does contribute to like the melodic and the dancing nature of the poem, like the scheme, because the second changes while the first is constant. So it really does contrast change versus the ideal, where this poem is really a juxtaposition of two different ideas, like both the ideal and the sinful. So that really does contribute to that idea. So the poem it seems to describe lust, and in a literal sense, it describes a femme fatale, or a woman who's sexy, but really is not good news and is really toxic, like a snake who's seductive, who lures, but really is looking to strike, like the name of the poem suggests, like a serpent dancing. So the poem really does connect to the theme of like both sin and lust, where lust really does have to do with love and beauty, which are two good things, the ideal, but it also has to do with sin because lust is a sin. So that really does connect to the idea of the flowers of evil, because it does deal with evil. And of course, in the Christian idea, lust is a sin. And it really, this juxtaposition between sin, which is lust, and beauty is really conveyed to this section, which is the ideal and the spleen, which are two different things. And that really does contribute to that theme over here. And the way that this section is structured, it really is like that, where Baudelaire really explores different aspects of love, of sin and lust. So at first he starts describing his great journeys with like the ideal, with an exotic woman, where he travels to the Caribbean apparently, and he describes his adventure with a mulatto woman over there. And this poem is really a transition to that, to something where he gets hurt by lust, and he describes his sexual desire. And you can really see that with like the theme of the ocean, where that harkens back to the previous section of his love with the Caribbean woman, and now his like the theme of sin. And out of like and that's a very important juxtaposition that's seen in this poem. And out of all the versions, the two best ones are Jacques Leclerc and Roy Campbell, because they keep the original rhyme structure. And all the poems really do have the figurative language and like the melodic nature, and really do have the imagery. But those two are the best because they both keep the original rhyme structure. And the best one is Jacques Leclerc, because he keeps the rhyme structure and the metric. And he's also a Belgian poet, so it seems that he also probably has the best translation from the original French. So yeah.